NASCAR has just shocked the drivers. As for the second year in a row, NASCAR Cup teams will compete at New Hampshire Motor Speedway using a new tire mix. Will this create mayhem during the race? Luckily for the teams, this time they will have some familiarity with the tire, having used it in previous races at North Wilkesboro and last weekend at Iowa Speedway. 1 year ago, NASCAR and Goodyear utilized the New Hampshire race to introduce a new softer tire formula to the Cup Series. The move resulted from a meeting with Cup drivers, NASCAR officials, and Goodyear executives to discuss several ideas for improving the racing product with the next-gen car. The New Hampshire alteration produced mixed effects. There looked to be more passing in the field, but Martin Truex Jr. dominated the race, leading 254 of the 301 laps en route to victory. Goodyear continues development on short-track package in New Hampshire. Despite being only a little more than a mile long, New Hampshire Motor Speedway is classified as a short-track racetrack. It has been generally acknowledged that NASCAR has been working on the short-track package with this next-gen car, as seen by Goodyear's continued efforts at New Hampshire. Goodyear experimented at the Loudon course in April 2023, producing a tire setup with more tractive tread compounds for the previous year's event. This year, Goodyear has a new setup that incorporates greater tread thickness, which is intended to hold more heat in the tires and result in more fall-off over the course of a run. As lap times decline, there are more comers and goers, as well as more passing across the field. As always, left-side air pressures will be critical in New Hampshire. With minimum suggested pressures of 14 psi on the left side, teams who go much lower risk destroying the sidewall of the tire by over-deflection, which might result in air leakage. NASCAR teams have always been in a search for grip at Loudon, said Greg Stucker, Goodyear's director of racing. We've made a couple adjustments for our tire setup for this track over the past year. Plus, as we continue to work on the short-track racing package, after adding more grip at Loudon in 23 with a tread compound change, we've rolled in a change that we have on all of the short tracks for this season by increasing the tread gauge. That move helps the tire maintain more heat over a run, which will, in turn, lead to more fall-off and more passing. With rain expected this weekend, Goodyear will bring its rainy weather tires to New Hampshire. Cup teams will be allowed a maximum of 4 sets of wet weather tires each event. Teams last used a rainy weather tire in competition at Richmond in April. Will the change of tires result in different results this weekend? What do you think? Next to having an exciting tire change, the NASCAR Cup season hits its midway point with Sunday's race in New Hampshire, the 18th of 36 points events. Ryan Blaney became the 10th driver to seal a playoff position with his win at Iowa Speedway last weekend. There are now 6 slots available based on points. That means that after 4 months of laying the groundwork, it's time to consider the big picture before crowning a winner at Phoenix Raceway on November 10th. And to count, get you ready for the remainder of the season. We've put together some predictions for you. We're excited to see if you are on board with some of these or if you think differently, so let's dive in. Larson wins the regular season title despite missing the Coca-Cola 600. Larson is the greatest driver in the sport. In fact, after missing the Coca-Cola 600 and finishing 21st or worse 5 times, he is just 8 points behind leader Elliot. Some would point out his lack of consistency in results, but with stage points, you don't have to finish in the top 10 every week to gain a lot of points, which is beneficial. Elliot's luck has been unsustainable all season, never finished worse than 19th, so he's going to have problems on the track at some time. Larson will separate himself in the points, as he has in most other categories this season. Martin Truex Jr. closes his illustrious career with at least one more triumph. Truex's career has been that of a storybook hero, overcoming misfortune at every step, including the death of his longtime partner Sherry Pollux due to illness. He also lost his ride at Michael Waltrip Racing as a result of a race tampering controversy, which put him up to lead underdog Furniture Row Racing to the 2017 Cup Series victory. Truex, who will retire from full-time competition after the 2024 season, deserves at least one more feel-good moment, and he will get it. He is now 6th in points with 447 laps led and has ran too good to not win at some time. For the 2nd consecutive season, Byron will top the Cup Series in victories. Byron won 6 races last year and is halfway through this season. His modest, David Pearson-like driving style keeps him out of trouble and in contention almost every week. Expect to see the number 24 vehicle in victory lane several times. A surprise disrupts the playoff race. On August 11th, during the Cookout 400 in Richmond, the season's second race at Richmond Raceway, Stewart-Haas Racing's Josh Berry will deliver another plot surprise to the playoff field. Berry has proven himself to be a strong competitor on short tracks this season, with his 7th-place finish in Iowa, where he led 32 laps, possibly his career-best performance. He appears to be improving throughout his first full Cup Series season, and a win at the next short track would be an excellent capstone. Chris Buescher will eventually break through and win. After winning 3 races in 2023, Buescher had high expectations for this season. He hasn't had a horrible first half, sitting 27 points over the playoff cut line in 15th place, but tight losses to Kansas and Darlington have left the Texan wondering what may have been. Buescher, on the other hand, demonstrated last season that he can win on a variety of tracks, and he'll get that long-awaited 2024 triumph before the playoffs begin on September 8th. Hendrick Motorsports will account for at least half of the championship. William Byron and Kyle Larson of Hendrick Motorsports are leading the series with 3 victories each, but Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman have been incredibly consistent. While it's possible that Hendrick Motorsports may fill 3 or perhaps all 4 championship 4 places, we'll play it safe and assume 2 HMS stars, most likely Byron or Larson based on playoff points, will compete for Hendrick's 15th Cup Series championship. Joey Logano qualifies for the playoffs, while Kyle Busch will not. Team Penske has ramped up the pace recently, with Ryan Blaney winning in Iowa on Sunday and Austin Cindric winning at Gateway 2 weeks prior. That leaves Logano as the team's lone driver without a points-paying checkered flag in 2024, but he has a string of solid performances and should secure a playoff berth on points even if he does not win any races. Busch, meanwhile, will not be so fortunate. His number 8 team has declined during the season. Despite his quickness, his team's execution has been weak. In addition, it is unclear whether Busch will return to Richard Childress Racing next season. Despite his breakout season in 2023, Bubba Wallace will miss the playoffs. Give respect to Wallace, who has remained just over the Cup Series playoff cut line despite terrible luck. Unfortunately for Wallace, 2-time champions Logano and Busch are his main competitors for the final playoff place, and with mediocre strategy calls and cars that never seem to improve as races progress, Wallace is in a difficult situation. He has a 6-point lead, but with the series moving to New Hampshire and Chicago in the coming weeks, Wallace is expected to tumble out of the top 16. The driver of the number 23 car is unquestionably playoff worthy, but the circumstances surrounding his current season are not. Elliot will complete the season with the best average in the Cup Series. Elliot leads all drivers with a 9.1 average finish, so this prediction is hardly bold. The number 9 squad must be more aggressive in the playoffs. But Elliot's Lee Petty-like performance has propelled him to the top of the regular season standings. It would be good to see the number 9 car in victory lane more often, but this should come soon. And rounding off, Ryan Blaney becomes the first back-to-back champion in playoff history. It's difficult to win back-to-back titles in any sport, let alone one with a playoff system as unpredictable as NASCAR's. That is why no one has done it since the current format was introduced in 2014. However, as long as the season finale is held at the same track each year, there will always be a possibility for someone to have a slight edge, which Blaney has at Phoenix. Blaney has just returned to title caliber form. If he can maintain his momentum and go to the championship round again, he should be favorites to repeat. What do you think? How many of these predictions are spot on? And do you have some of your own predictions? Let me know in the comments down below.